Hello, welcome to Virtual Learning Hub's presentation on safeguarding. My name's Jasmine and I welcome you to today's presentation. Please remember after the presentation, if you could kindly like, subscribe and comment. That helps and informs us on how we're doing with our presentations. These are just small basic bites that we give of information, and we hope that is beneficial and useful for you. So let's look at safeguarding. What does safeguarding mean? So, safeguarding means protecting a citizen's health, well being, and human rights, enabling them to live free from harm, abuse, and neglect. It is an integral part of providing high quality health care. It's also safeguarding children, young people, and adults, which is a collective responsibility. So, we're going to look at two live case studies. So, when I say live, I mean these have actually happened. And this is just to give you some background information, relatable information, and areas where you might be able to identify if ever you find yourself in a situation and you're unsure whether to, take the next step of reporting.
Imagine that you live next door to a single mother and a 5-year-old son. Every morning you see her leave for work but realise the child is being left at home by himself. How do you think the child feels being left all alone every day? What kind of danger is he in? Or imagine we suddenly see a pregnant woman running out of her house crying in the middle of the winter with no coat or even shoes. What do you think might be happening? And what can you do? Or how would you react if you were a council worker on a visit to support a housing tenant? You discover a disturbing scene of self-neglect and clear signs of mental illness. All throughout Haringey, there are people in trouble. Children and adults who are vulnerable and living in conditions or experiencing situations where they are in danger of harm and abuse. But you can help to make them safer. These films will show you how. All of these stories and people are real, and so are the opportunities for you to make a difference. So what do we mean by safeguarding? Safeguarding is protecting children and adults at risk from harm and abuse. It's about promoting their welfare. People don't always know they're being abused, so we all have the opportunity to help and protect them. How do we safeguard children and adults? By paying attention to signs of abuse and telling someone about it. Watch this true story about safeguarding. Think about how you would react in this situation and what you could do to make a difference.
I went out on a home visit one day, myself and a colleague, to talk to the tenant about rent arrears and their benefits. And on getting there, knocked on the door, child answered the door from the inside, didn't open the door, and asked who it was. I said I was from the council, needed to speak to the mother. He said, well, my mum's not here. And I instantly realised, okay, this child I was talking to couldn't have been more than 5-6 years old, chatting with us very freely through the letterbox. At first he said she'd popped out to the shops, and then we said, okay, we'll wait until she came back. Half an hour later, she still wasn't back. At this point, we started to get a bit concerned. When I realised that the child was on their own, I was anxious, worried. The neighbour confirmed that the parent, they were a single mother, often left the child to go to work. So she would leave the child on their own. I had to contact my manager, who then contacted social services, and social services came in and took over the situation. It could have happened on a different occasion where the child could have come to harm, because anything could happen. That is neglect.
If you see a situation where a person or a child is in danger of harm or abuse, acting quickly can have a major impact. In our story of the child being left at home alone, imagine what would happen if the council worker hadn't reported it. Something bad could have happened to that child, or the mother who is struggling to cope might fall into more trouble. But the council worker did report it. That means the child can be kept safe, and the mother can get the support she needs. Had someone noticed and reported this even earlier, for example the neighbours, they may have gotten the support they needed even sooner. Think about this story about safeguarding. Mr. Smith is an elderly gentleman that attends the local post office every Monday, uses a cash point card, takes out £20 and buys his groceries. He knows all the people in the counters. They say, "Hello, Mr. Smith." He tells them about their day, what he's about to do. One occasion, Mr. Smith doesn't come in, but another gentleman comes in with his card and has the pin, so he's using the pin. The post office staff query this, and he says he's a relative of Mr. Smith. Ordinarily, Mr. Smith uses £20 to do his shopping. This gentleman's taken out 50. There's concerns. The post office staff, they contact the safeguarding team because of the concerns they have. We look into it, and it transpires that this gentleman, he's claiming to be a carer for Mr. Smith. Once the local authority started their inquiries, this gentleman disappeared. The local authority put in steps to ensure that they would safeguard his finances. The local authority gives Mr. Smith his weekly money so he's able to go and do his shopping as he used to do. If you live or work in the borough, you have an opportunity to help protect our most vulnerable people, simply by keeping your eyes open, using your instincts, and telling someone about it. In all of these films, you see more true stories that show the different forms that abuse can take, what to look out for, what to do about it, and just how much of a difference it can make to someone's life.
And that was on behalf of Haringey Council, who put together this presentation on what is safeguarding and how to understand it. So let's move on. So, as mentioned, there are different agencies that provide support. We have social services that provide support and intervention, the police that provide investigations and protection, health professionals that identify and report, should I say, abuse, educational sectors that monitor and can provide referrals, and voluntary organisations that provide advocacy and additional support. What do we learn? What have we learnt from serious failures? For example, we've got two case studies here. The tragic circumstances of Baby P case, which then improved internal agency communication. The same with Victoria Columbia's case that strengthened safeguarding protocols. The outcome, it enhanced reporting systems and better training and accountability by individuals and bodies overall. So, definitions and key terms, we have safeguarding, which means protecting health, well being, and rights. Abuse, which is harm caused intentionally or unintentionally. Harm, which is physical, emotional, or psychological damage. There are different factors with individuals' vulnerability, such as disability, isolation, or dependency. There are different types of abuse: physical, sexual, psychological, financial, material, and institutional. There are dismissed domestic, modern slavery, and discriminatory, which factors that are down to negligence, acts of omission, and self neglect. So, recognizing some of the signs of abuse. This could be via behavioral changes, injuries, or withdrawal, and indicators that a predator may be trying to use abusive tactics such as controlling behavior, excessive criticism, or secrecy, or more. How can we reduce the risk of abuse? By working with personal centered values, by promoting choice and rights, by enabling active participation, through collaboration with other agencies, and raising awareness of personal safety. How do we respond to certain concerns? If suspicious, record and report concerns, preserve evidence and follow protocols. If disclosed, listen and reassure, and share information with appropriate consent. How do we balance safety with access benefits? We're looking at potential risks like cyberbullying, exploitation, or scams. We can reduce these risks by educating individuals and ourselves and promoting informed decision making. Now, let's have a closer look at some legislation. There are laws and legislation around the United Kingdom that control the safeguarding of vulnerable adults. They all are governed responsibilities and duties on relevant adult social care services with local authorities as they are as with lead agencies for protecting vulnerable adults. You will observe that each piece of legislation is worded slightly differently, and they cover the same issues and have the same fundamental principles. So let's look a bit closer. We have the CARE Act 2014, which explains the responsibilities for the safeguarding protection of vulnerable adults. The Act was produced to bring a variety of legislation together, creating a whole new Act. This replaced many old acts that were in need of updating, such as the Health Services and Public Act 1968, the National Assistance Act 1948, and many others. Statutory guidance stipulates that safeguarding means protecting an adult's right to live in safety, free from abuse and neglect. There are some more relevant legislation, such as the Children's Act 1989, which was then revised in 2004. Then we have the CARE Act 2014, the Human Rights Act 1998. The principles of safeguarding are prevention of harm, promoting well-being and safety, and responding effectively to risks. So what steps can we take? To do this, it requires people and agencies working together, preventing and stopping both the risk and experience of abuse or neglect, and ensuring that the adult's welfare is promoted, making sure that we have regard for the adult's views, wishes, feelings, and beliefs when deciding on any action. There are national policies and local systems. The national policies are called Working Together to Safeguard Children and the Safeguarding Vulnerable Adults Framework, which all can be accessed via the internet and downloaded. The local systems are local safeguarding boards and multi-agency safeguarding hubs. Safeguarding principles. There are 6 key principles set out in the CARE Act 2014 that reinforce all work taken to safeguard vulnerable adults. The first principle is empowerment, which adults ask for what they want and receive support that is personal to them and have given their consent. 2, prevention. Signs are recognized and clear. Decisive actions are taken before harm occurs to the vulnerable adult. 3, proportional professionals to work, in the vulnerable adult's best interest and responds to the appropriate present risk. Principle 4 is prevention, so professionals to provide help and support for those in the greatest need. 5, partnership professional services within the local community join together to share only the information that prevents, detects, and reports neglect and abuse. And 6, accountability. Safeguarding of vulnerable adults should be delivered with transparency and accountability. Therefore, the adult fully understands the role of everyone in their lives. Now, another act is the Mental Capacity Act 2005. This applies to everyone involved in care, treatment, and support of people aged 16 and over living in England and Wales, who are unable to make all or some decisions for themselves. The MCA is designed to protect and restore power to those vulnerable people who lack capacity. It is where a person is unable to make a decision through a lack of capacity to do so. This could be due to an injury, disability, or illness. Statement. It is stated that the Mental Capacity Act 2005 should be applied to if a person is not able to do one or more of the following things: to understand the information relevant to a decision, to retain the information given to them, and to use or reflect on that information as part of the process of making a decision, whether by talking, using sign language, or any other means. The decisions that are made in the best interest of the vulnerable adult are made by a suitable adult under the Mental Capacity Act 2005. You should always encourage the adult to participate in the decisions. Try to identify all the things that the adult would want to include. This includes a young adult,